What's up? This is Mandelo, and in this video I'm going to continue our discussion about early session trading setups by talking about the initial balance. In part 1 we talked about the significance of daily opens for contextual levels within a larger trend or trading range to analyze market structure, and looked at some moves that can develop at the beginning of the trading session. Early in the session, daily opens and previous day and high time frame volume and time-based levels help to identify areas of support and resistance, and allow us to plan for trading opportunities which may present themselves as price action develops. Now we're going to expand from the daily open to the initial balance, the price range during the first hour of the daily trading session. Initial balance is less significant than before there was electronic trading hours in 24/7 markets, but it still can be useful to identify early session trading levels and setups, much better than relying on daily open price alone. The initial balance helps to identify potential breakout opportunities and provide further insights into the market's early direction. Since the current session value is developing, initial balance provides levels early in the session, aside from previous day and historical levels. You can identify initial balance by marking the high and low of the first hour on your chart. This is the initial balance range for the day. A 1-hour chart makes this easy, or you can use an indicator which will mark initial balance for you. Often, a wide initial balance range can contain price action for a session, so a larger initial balance range can suggest less movement the rest of the day, especially if high volume is early, which can be taken as big trades with conviction happening right at the beginning of the session. A narrow range is often tested on either side of the initial balance, sometimes many times, and this especially happens on weekends for BTC and crypto. But a small range increases the probability of a larger move once the range is broken, because contraction leads to expansion. Low volume can also play a factor with initial balance. Lower volume early can set up larger movements, especially when the initial balance is small. It's a clue that the market is waiting for value to be established, and it's often wise to sit on your hands until the initial balance breaks and market shows its directional bias. So let's check out some trade setups based on how the price behaves relative to the initial balance range. For breakouts, a price move above the initial balance high or below the low can signal a potential breakout. Look for confirmation through increased volume or retests, which can often occur before the price expands away. This can lead to a trend day, especially if the initial balance is relatively small and broken early. For a range-bound or non-trend day, if the price remains within the initial balance range, consider trading within this range, looking for support and resistance at the margins of the range. For failed auctions, a failed auction occurs when the price range breaks out of the initial balance range but then returns to the range within 30 minutes. This is the true definition of a failed auction, although they may set up in other forms of price action outside the initial balance. Failed auction is a common exhaustion setup, often following an extended move. Once accepting back within the initial balance range, price moves to the other side of the initial balance range, and then larger moves may develop. But according to the theory behind failed auctions, after a failed auction, the market has a high probability of revisiting the failed auction zone within 5 or 6 days. This can provide another setup later or a potential target for trades outside the range. While I use the initial balance levels for confluence, it provides levels and offers setups early in a trading session as value is developing. In the third part of the series, we're going to put together the pieces with one of my favorite trade setups I look for at the beginning of every trading session, the 80% setup. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and share if you think it's helpful. Good luck, and see you in the next one. For a sneak peek of what the next video holds in store, stay tuned. It's a great demonstration of the principles we learned in the daily open video and in this initial balance. And I wanted to share a couple more setups just for the application of what we saw in this video. This was a really exciting early session trade. We had an open test drive and early break of the initial balance and strong volume. And as soon as we accepted into the previous day value area, price rotated to the other side of previous day value area and was at 80% setup. This strong breakout early in the session on high volume was a great clue that the 80% play was likely. In this setup, there was an early deviation of the range, a failed auction, and rotation to the opposite side, which turned to support, yet was lost in rotation back to the lower end of the range. Another deviation and a strong push back to the other side where the initial balance was flipped to support, and a strong breakout on high volume occurred. Here, an early push below the range and reclaim of the initial balance resulted in a push above and retest of the range and daily open, which was flipped into support, resulted in a strong move and continuation higher. Some indicators have IB mid and extensions, or you can use a fib tool to identify targets outside the range. This early session setup, we had the initial balance was quite small, but early in the session, it was turned into support at a break of the range, but ultimately failed at the extension, lost the range, reclaimed, and then broke again on higher volume late in the day and resulted in a strong move above the range. And this happened around CME Open on Sunday, right into the weekly close. Volume picked up around New York session open and continuation of the bullish momentum after retesting previous day's value area high resulted in a strong move upward and a trend day for most of the New York session. It wasn't daily open, it wasn't initial balance alone that produced or resulted in this move. It helped to identify some targets early in the session and some levels if the range was going to expand. We're going to talk a lot more about volume and breakouts and rotational plays in the next video. But initial balance and daily open does help us to identify early session levels. And we see extensions providing some guidance, which can also be provided from higher time frame levels and Fibonacci levels when we have expansion especially. So thanks again for watching and happy trading.